Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
People ask me all the time, hey Ed, are you still a private investigator? I sure am. Go to emailrevealer.com. We handle adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, where you give us your spouse's email address. We trace it back to online dating websites, catch them cheating online. Email tracing, locate or identify somebody from as little as an anonymous email address. Someone owe you money? Back child support? We can find that deadbeat, locate his hidden assets, locate his hidden bank accounts, find his current place of employment, and even assist you in obtaining a judgment and recover that judgment for you. Emailrevealer.com, digital forensics, computer forensics, cell phone forensics, recover deleted text messages, create a report that you can use in court. Emailrevealer.com, 800-572-9762. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send you a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensics Consulting through my website, emailrevealer.com, or you can email me directly at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like our show, check out our Patreon, where we have exclusive content and exclusive shows you can't find anywhere online, AM, FM, or on the internet, only through our Patreon at oppermanreport.com. But our archives are always free. You can find them at Spreaker.com. You get an email notification anytime we put up new content, and there's a chat room and all kind of fun stuff over at Spreaker.com. I'm very excited about our guest today. We have Carl Colby, who runs carlcolbyfilms.com, and is also part of this group here called the OSS Society. Did a remarkable film about his dad called The Man Nobody Knew, In Search of My Father, CIA Spymaster William Colby. Carl Colby, are you there?
I'm here. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I just watched the film, and it really moved me, like I said before. Tell us about yourself, though. Who's Carl Colby?
I'm one of the children of William Colby, who was CIA director. I always almost preface things to say that, but at the same time, I had my own career as a documentary filmmaker since I left college. I graduated at Georgetown University some time ago, and I've always been interested in politics and in national security issues. And frankly, growing up as my father's son, who was CIA director, and we lived all over the world. We lived in Italy during the contested elections against the communists in Italy in late 50s, and then I lived in Rome and Saigon. Do you want to maybe make it? Can I do that over again?
No, this is fine. You grew up. It moved me a lot.
Let me just start over again. Okay, I'm Carl Colby. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I specialize in making profiles of people, and probably my biggest, most exposure film was a profile of somebody I never thought I was going to profile. It was my own father. And there's always a great father-son story to tell. Most people have one. And mine happened to be particularly interesting because my father was CIA all his career. He was OSS, jumped behind enemy lines in France and Norway, winner of the Silver Star, Bronze Star, and then became the ultimate CIA operative and later director of the CIA. So I finally made a film about him, and it's called The Man Nobody Knew, In Search of My Father, William Colby, CIA Spymaster. And you can find that at firstrunfeatures.com. I basically, like Ed is a private investigator, I kind of felt that way about making a film about my dad. Because how do you make a film about a spy, about somebody who doesn't like to be photographed, doesn't like to be quoted, likes no one to write anything down? He's the one asking the questions, not you. And so it's been a great ride, and I basically specialize in doing films about military, national security issues, and sort of the cutting issues of the day.
In the film, you start off, you talk about your dad and how you would go into his dresser drawer and see all his important stuff, you know? That really moved me because it was very similar with my own dad and his box of important things that he had. You know, I used to love to go through when I was a kid. And you grew up in Saigon at the beginning of the war.
Right.
What was that like?
Well, we lived across the street from the palace, and actually there were two coup d'etat attempts. One was a aerial bombardment of the palace that blew up our house. Half the ceiling fell on the floor. And you'd think that I would have been terrified, and my family would have been scared to death living there. But I remember after the bombing attack, I was at school, and they said, "All right, everybody go home early." And they all looked at me like, God, I wonder if his parents are dead, because they live right next to the palace, and everybody knew the palace had been bombed. And I went through the park collecting shrapnel, because I thought I'd do a little show and tell the next day at school about give a little report about the attack. And I walk into the house, and it's really quiet, dark, glass and plaster all over the floor. It was an old Art Deco house, and really the house was shaken to the core. And I was beginning to get a little worried then. And suddenly my father popped his head out from behind the dining room and said, hey, sport, good to see you. Come on in, we're having lunch, we're having pasta. And it was like, if he's okay with the way the world is, I'm okay with it too.
How old were you?
10, 11.
When you look back...
He was a very cool guy. He was like, we all know people who when dread attack, when they get attacked, or when something really goes wrong, a lot of people freak out and, jump under the bed or start screaming. My dad would become the opposite. He would become cooler. Like his temperature would go down. He would look and observe. Like one time I was just walking with him in Saigon, and we were looking across the street, and he goes, what do you see? I said, what do you mean? He goes, what's different? And I said, well, actually, there's a guy who's been waiting a long time. He's kind of nervous. Looks like he's waiting for his bike to get ready, but it's not ready yet. And some other guy just came, dropped something off, and left. And then he looked at me and smiled and said, you're beginning to see.
Do you think he wanted you to follow in his footsteps?
There's no way you can follow in the footsteps of a CIA man. You can always become an analyst or another branch of the agency. I don't mean that as a dig. I have a lot of friends, actually, who were the children of the CIA, and they became CIA employees themselves and are terrific individuals, very smart, very bright. And but I just had to go a different direction. You can't repeat that act.
So as a young boy, you looked up to your dad as a hero, right? But then later on, I guess in the anti-Vietnam War years, you had a change of heart?
Yeah, even in Saigon, I began to think, because we took he rarely would take us on little trips, but one time he got me going on a Saturday morning out of school, and I'm not in school, and we went flying down to Phu Quoc, which was an island off the South China Sea, off of the coast of Vietnam. It later became infamous for its tiger cages, where they would keep Viet Cong prisoners and pretty much mistreat them and interrogate them, etc. And he took me down there. Maybe it was a little preview of what the place was going to be like. And we looked around. And then I remember on the way down, though, we looked out the window of the Air Vietnam C-47, and there was the Mekong Delta all spread out, all green, glistening, unbelievable, like a liquid world. And he goes, all this is going to change. There's a war coming, and I'm going to be a part of it. And there was always this sense of seriousness and of we have important work to do.
And how old were you then?
Same thing, 10, 11. I grew up fast.
Yeah, no, I could imagine. Now, what about your dad was responsible for the Phoenix program. Can you tell us what that was?
Yeah, the war was going bad. In the beginning, the war wasn't going so badly for the Americans in 61, 62. But then Ngo Dinh Diem and Ngo Dinh Nhu, the president and his brother, they were a bit on the corrupt side, and they didn't have the confidence of the people anymore. So things kind of went to hell. So the Americans had a counterinsurgency kind of special forces a component at the beginning, and it was having a lot of effect, like training the locals to defend themselves. But then the war started turning badly, and William Westmoreland and Lyndon Johnson got involved and thought, let's put in 400,000 or 500,000 troops. So you can imagine some kid from Oklahoma arriving in some Vietnamese village. He's scared to death. He can't tell one person from another. So that went really badly. And then my father convinced the president at the time, and he ran a program called the Rural Pacification, which was basically self-defense. But they recruited a lot of ex-Viet Cong people, and they were very effective at rooting out Viet Cong insurgents. And so my father, for the success that it resulted in probably more than 29,000 Vietnamese being killed, Viet Cong, supposedly Viet Cong or mostly Viet Cong. But who's to know? When someone's pointing the finger at somebody saying he's VC, maybe he's got a grudge against him. You never really know. And he was very famous for that, but he was never apologetic about it. He basically quoted the number one general in North Vietnam, General Giap, who said Colby hurt us. That Phoenix program really hurt us. And he was right.
You know,
go after the core. Go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of times I've interviewed Doug Valentine, who wrote the book about the Phoenix Project. And your dad took him under his wing almost and gave him a bunch of information and directed him to people to talk to expose the Phoenix Project. Why do you think, I always ask Doug, why do you think he did this? Why do you think he did this?
You know, there's one thing about him that was very interesting. He, like when all the family jewels, the secrets of all the wrongdoing the CIA had engaged in, the 697 instances of really, you know, assassination attempts and things like that. I think he said, he basically, I remember arguing with him. I said, oh, you're not going to tell him all this stuff, are you? And he said, yeah, let's air out the dirty laundry. Let's air it out and it'll all come clean. And he kind of believed in the reasonableness of the American people. I remember telling him, forget that. They're going to barbecue you. You're going to be roasted. It's like throwing kerosene on the fire. But he didn't believe that. He believed that if you got the full picture, warts and all, then you'll make the right decision.
So you would have open, frank discussions with your father about these topics?
Oh, totally. No, I had a big family. We're all very fun and argumentative. I mean, I have two brothers, a younger brother who's an attorney and an older brother who was an attorney. And, oh, my God. I mean, you'd like to come over to my house in those days for dinner. It was like subject of the day, you know, the bombing of something. And then everybody chimes in. And we'd try to ridicule my dad like that. He doesn't understand what we're talking about. He has no philosophical underpinnings. He's just a soldier. He just says yes. And he was kind of amused by it. He got kicked off a few times, but he was a little amused by it because he was an only child, and here's this gang of guys who love him, really. I mean, his children. But at the same time, we had questions, and we wanted answers. And we were used to hanging around the adults. I mean, the people I grew up with, my parents' friends, are like out of a rogues gallery checkbook. It's just unbelievable.
I could imagine growing up as a witness to history. Just fascinating life, my friend. Now,
well, guys that you read about, you know,
yeah,
you heard about, you read legends, and then they would disappear, and then they would tell me one time I went on a hunting trip, believe it or not, in Indonesia, just spur of the moment when I was like 15 years old, and I went on the trip and I mentioned this really interesting guy who seems to know him, and he's so great, and he said. I said, Mr. X, you know, Mr. whatever. And I said the guy's name, and he goes, that's very interesting. Never repeat his name again.
Wow.
In other words, the guy I'm talking about was undercover, so I might blow his cover. And little things like that, I felt like I was part of the team. I wasn't Jason Bourne, but I was part of the team.
Oh, sure, I can imagine that. You must have been like a hero worship. You know, your dad's a spy. You
got hero worship, but then it started. During the height of the Vietnam protests and all, it was pretty nasty because there were posters around town with him in the Ace of Spades, comparing him to Heinrich Himmler, the head of the Gestapo, and so because of the Phoenix program, and so I had some real doubts. I was like, is he just indiscriminately killing people? I mean, and then he would say, it's war. It's not a picnic. It's war. It's not pretend. At the same time, I thought, well, to what end? To what end? And then we lose the war, so what happens? But it's almost like he had the capacity to feel great empathy for thousands of oppressed people, seriously. But then when it came to his own family, it was like, he was kind of cold. Otherwise, he would have been a regular guy. My mother one time complained, he's not romantic. You know, why did I marry him? I could have married some fun guys who'd take me dancing at the country club. And I said, that's right, Mom. They would have taken you dancing at the country club, and you would have been the belle of the ball, and you never would have lived in Rome and Saigon and mingled with kings and princes and popes. And she said, you're right.
How about the Watergate period? Because your dad was head of the CIA during the Watergate hearings. And what were the conversations?
Well, he was head of the CIA. He was head of the CIA after the hearings, but he was. No, I correct myself. He was head of the CIA. Richard Helms was in the CIA, and then Schlesinger, and then my father. I think he felt that it was just a mess, but that the president was the president. Because I remember arguing with him one evening in August of '74. And I said, you know, Nixon is a crook. I mean, he's a liar. He's lying to the American people. He ought to be impeached. And he said, don't talk about your president that way. And I realized something, that my father wasn't like lockstep loyalist. My father had a chain of command. He couldn't ridicule the president. The president has the nuclear code. The president is first in line in terms of as commander-in-chief. He's reporting to he needed to keep a semblance of order and reason. And I remember then thinking, wow, what a weight he's got on his shoulders. And my sister was very ill at the time. I mean, what he could take in terms of the weight, most people don't, maybe they suffer that their entire life, but they never, just what he could take day to day was just incredible.
Now, your father having such a prominent role in Vietnam during that period of time, did he ever bring up, like, you hear these stories about the heroin smuggling coming out of Vietnam and stuff like that?
Yeah, he did talk about, like, Air America. He just poo-pahhed that. He said, like, that never, no, we were not dealing heroin. What might have been going on, and I don't know this for a fact, but I do know some Air America pilots, and some things might have found their way into the hold of these planes, because it was all a Wild West cowboy show. And the currency in Burma and in the Northern Triangle of Thailand, Burma, and Laos, and here's the currency: silver, opium, and elephant. Gold, opium, and elephant. Okay, that's paper money is paper money. What you deal with is those three things, mostly heroin. So you can imagine how much heroin there was just flying around. But I don't think he felt there was any, I mean, there must have been drug dealing, of course, but it wasn't like sanctioned. It was something he would have frowned on. He would have gone after. He would have been upset. He would be upset about that. He basically said there wasn't much of that.
Okay, fascinating. Okay. Now, also, too, well, okay, let's get into this. Now, the death of your father.
Yeah.
You believe it was a suicide. Go ahead.
Well, you say suicide, but to be honest with you, I take it more like one of the Greeks. I'll just put it this way. He was 76 years old. He was burning a candle at both ends. He had remarried a younger woman. She was very intelligent, and they had a good rapport. But he was flying to L.A. and back on night, red eyes, and had been in Russia. And I think he, frankly, suffered from a couple of minor strokes, because he called me a couple of times. I lived in L.A., and he called me a couple of times when he was, he seemed to be, usually a call from him normally would be like a couple of minutes. Hey, how's it going? Let's get together Wednesday. I'm going to be in L.A. Terrific. Finally, I'll launch that. Instead, he was calling and asking about my sister. How did I think she was treated when she died? How could that have happened? What did we do wrong? The kind of question I never heard from him. I remember telling him, I said, stop with these questions. We all did the wrong thing. We all didn't do enough. You didn't do enough. I didn't do enough. My mother didn't do enough. And that's the way it is, and it's going to eat you up, so let it go. And then I realized he was a little phasey on the phone, like a little fuzzy, not remembering something, which is completely not him. He would be up on everything. And then I realized maybe he'd had a couple of mini strokes, and he was a little diminished. So he goes down, fixes his favorite meal, goes out on a canoe, which he normally wouldn't do. He's not reckless. And then he tips over. And I say this not like I have great evidence, but one of the last things he said to me was very revealing, I thought. I said to him in one of the calls, I said, or one of the last calls I had with him, I said, oh, by the way, your friend Judge so-and-so, your Princeton roommate, was found sleeping under a bridge in Middlebury, Vermont. He's got advanced Alzheimer's. And he goes, that'll never happen to me. And I said, really? He goes, yep. I said, one day you're going to hear that I was walking on a goat path on a Greek island, and I fell to the sea. And I said, what? Like that? He goes, just like that.
Wow. Now, I was reading...
there's I have a cameraman who's terrific, Sean Napolitano. I'll give him a plug. Veteran, Marine, fantastic. And he told me once, I don't know how we got into it, but we drive around, going to shoots and things. And he said, I'm not going to end up in one of those retirement places. I'm going to go out to Wyoming and go for a walk in the woods with a pack. And as long as and I'll go as far as I can go. But if I get stopped, if I get wounded, if I get hurt, if I get injured by an animal, that's the way it is. Like almost Lakota Sioux style. Do you know what I mean?
Now, when I'm reading the reviews about the movie, though, your family seemed to indicate that you were estranged from your father, and they didn't agree with your assessment there.
No, that's not true. Unfortunately, that was a guy, Ira Shapiro, at the Washington Post, trying to make hay. My stepmother didn't like the movie because she's not featured in it, and I didn't use her because, honestly, I interviewed her for 2.5 hours. I tried to use her, but it was interesting. She said things like that almost anybody would say about him. I don't mean to be mean. She just didn't have anything original really to say or anything revealing, and I was a little frustrated. And then as kind of an afterthought, I thought, well, I'll interview my mother, and she'd been kind of depressed. And I interviewed her once, and my cameraman turned to me and said, she is incredible.
Yeah.
And you saw the movie, and she becomes the star. And she's the one who sacrificed. And the second wife wasn't part of his CIA world. She came afterwards. So she objected to parts of the movie, but because she's not included. But then my family, we all get along. They don't like hearing the word suicide. But nobody that I know who is very serious thinks that he was killed. And I'll have to say, what did my dad say about killing one time? And I don't know how I got around to asking him this one time, but he said, if you really want to kill somebody, you don't go through some elaborate plot. You just kill him. You hire a Sicilian guy. He comes over. He's not in any American record books. There's no fingerprints in the United States. He obtains a gun. He shoots the person. He leaves that afternoon out of Baltimore, and he's back in Palermo. End of story. You don't go through some elaborate charade of a boat and a canoe and, all right, let's plant this here and plant this here. Things go wrong.
The frogmen, it's kind of these stories.
Right. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
He hadn't been director for 20 years. I mean, did he have enemies? I think all of us have some enemies. And he probably had dozens of enemies, maybe old Viet Cong guys or disgruntled CIA people. But I just kind of doubt it, frankly.
Well, how did he feel about his successor, George Bush?
It's a touchy situation because I think he personally acted like he got along with him and all, but he kind of thought he was a lightweight, actually. And I think he was removed. I discovered later that my father was really hurt and angry, really, about being dismissed from the CIA by Ford and then Bush coming in. It wasn't really against Bush. It was more like he didn't want a political person in there, and he got the ultimate political person who built the Bush dynasty, and that was the beginning of it. I think he wasn't a member of the club anymore. Can you imagine how exclusive the club is? 18 people who have these secrets every day, who read the president's brief, who know everything that's to be known. And suddenly, nope, your name's off the list. Who's calling?
Yeah, that must be devastating. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be like in Hollywood if you suddenly had some horrific problem, some exposure problem or some scandal, and then nobody will talk to you again, ever. You're out.
In the foreword to the book, The Franklin Cover-Up, with John DeCamp, he says that this investigation never would have taken place if it were not for Bill Colby. Did your father talk to you about
investigation?
Yeah.
Which investigation?
Well, the whole Franklin cover-up situation with John DeCamp, Senator John DeCamp.
I don't know that.
Oh, you don't know about that?
John DeCamp?
Yeah, it's Senator John DeCamp. Yeah, the Boys Town and all those kids being molested at Boys Town, and Lawrence King, the blackmail and stuff. Craig Spence.
No, he never talked to me about that. I don't know anything about it.
Okay, we'll have to send you the book, yeah, because according to John DeCamp, after talking to Colby, that's what got the whole thing rolling.
Well, a lot of people fix on my father because, to be honest with you, he would talk to anybody. I mean, literally, not like in a nasty way, but he was very curious. And he wouldn't charge anybody. He wasn't suspicious. If anything, he was open to everybody. And He had everybody come over to the house. And even Oliver Stone, who ended up accusing him and 2,000 people at the CIA of killing Kennedy. And I think my father finally shoved him out the door. Like enough for the conspiracy theories,
Right.
100 people can't keep a secret. Do you think 2,000 people can keep a secret? No.
Gotcha. Oh, this might be a good time to take a commercial break. We are here today with Carl Colby. You can find his website, carlcolby.com, carlcolbyfilms.com. But also, too, he's involved with this OSSsociety.org, where they're doing a bunch of films called Operation Overlord and Call Sign Chaos, which are getting a lot of play in the media there. So check out OSSsociety.org. We'll be right back with more of Carl Colby after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. OppermanReport.com. Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Do you like the work that you see us doing here at Opperman Report? You can support that work by becoming a member at OppermanReport.com. And as you have access to over 200 exclusive shows and interviews that you can't find on YouTube or Spreaker or iHeart or iTunes or KYAH. You can't find them anywhere else online, exclusive to our member sections, to our members. Also, too, there's images, videos, documents, court docs. And don't forget, you can hear your ad played here on the Opperman Report, reach hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis because the show is repeated every day all over the world. Contact me at oppermanreport@gmail.com and I'll give you a good deal on advertising rates.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Carl Colby, CarlColbyFilms.com. We're talking about his movie mostly, The Man Nobody Knew, In Search of My Father, CIA Spymaster William Colby. I don't know if you're breaking any laws, but he just admitted some stuff to me off the air a minute ago. I'm digging through his dad's briefcase, man. My God. What was that like? I can imagine. What was that like?
It was really special. And like to have a dad that you thought you knew what he was doing. Then you realize you don't know. Are you being lied to? Little lies? I'm sure I was lied to with little lies, just to put me off the scent. But then other times it's like he was using me as a sounding board. What do you think of whatever sport? And, what do you think of that? It's almost like he was bouncing an opinion back. I remember once he told me we're like a $30 billion black budget operation that produces a newspaper every day with an audience of one. And it better be good. It better tell the story truthfully and interestingly, and so that you catch on. It was just really an unusual father-son situation. It also made me unafraid of any man, business-wise or socially, of any adult. I never was nervous. Because who could compare to my dad?
Right. Now, let me ask
Even though my dad was a very quiet son, he had Ray-Bans and things like that, but it was like milquetoast attitude, little glasses, Mr. Nice Guy. He'd be the last guy you remember at the party last night, but he wouldn't forget you. He would have been spending the whole time asking you questions. Who is Opperman? How did you like Vegas? Who'd you know in Vegas? Oh, that's great. Yeah, did you know whatever? And then you remember thinking, wow, I had a great conversation with that Bill Colby. And then he'd say, I had a great conversation with Ed. You told me all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Excellent.
And then you'd go to bed thinking, God, that Colby guy was really interesting. But you'd say to somebody that you're close to, you'd go, I don't know anything about him.
Yeah. It was like living with a professor teaching you all these tricks there, man. Let me ask you a question about yourself, though, because the stuff where you did a film about Bob Marley, or there's this internet rumor about your assassinating Bob Marley. How would you like to clear that up?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
No, I was part of a team that we made a movie on Bob Marley for Chris Blackwell, who was the owner, still the owner of Island Records, and Bob was shot the night we got there, and was, who knows what it was, a gambling debt or whatever. But I ended up spending the weekend with him, and nobody knew that I was the son of a CIA guy. And then he died 12 years later, and some suspicions were that I gave him a set of soccer boots that had a poison dart in it or something. I mean, first of all, let's back this up. You're a private investigator.
Yeah.
Why in hell, if the CIA was involved, did they send the son of the ex-director who doesn't know anything about any killing or anything on a job like that? Are you out of your mind? I mean, it just wouldn't have happened. And people like to create like rumors, I think, because it's exciting and it's almost undeniable. You can't deny it. You can say it didn't happen, but then there's always suspicion. And I remember I spent like a day and a half with Bob. He was fantastic. He was like like a Bob Dylan, and he was tired almost of, like, weary, world weary of wearing this mantle, carrying this mantle of being this Messiah, Savior, kind of idol to the world. Bob, he was just beginning to be completely idolized, and it was kind of interesting. He wasn't happy to the audiences he was attracting. He was attracting white college audiences, in all around the United States, and he wanted to be Marvin Gaye. He wanted to be James Brown. He wanted to be the Four Tops. That's how he started. He just wanted to be Mr. Romance.
What year was that you met Bob Marley?
76.
76, and already he was being discouraged. Okay. Yeah, 'cause that's about when I found Bob Marley, about 76. Another big event in your life was you lived next door to Nicole Brown Simpson.
Yeah. It's beginning to be a pattern here. Why is this guy everywhere that something happened?
Well, wait a second. A bomb dropped on your house when you were a kid. You weren't responsible for that. Okay, no, you weren't piloting the plane there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't accused me of any assassination. Yeah. One time, my producer, David Johnson, of the Man Nobody Knew, was at college, and he went to one of those morning breakfasts where, famous people show up and X whatever. And my father showed up, and he said all the students were like, how many people did the CIA kill? It's like right away, 8 o'clock in the morning breakfast, they're asking my dad that. And how many times did you try to kill Castro? And my father said, well, it's not like we didn't try. We tried at least 17 times. And then David Johnson, my producer, was shocked that my father would, admit it. You know what I mean? And then give a bigger number, a bigger number that he hadn't heard. It's like, wow, who is so honest? It's so brutal, really.
That's interesting because
I lived next to her, and she was a wonderful person, Nicole Simpson, Brown Simpson. It was a tragedy, really. I was a witness for the prosecution. She wanted to just get away from OJ, and there was no way. He regarded her as his property. It was very sad, especially today with all the attention towards abuse and women's rights and all. It's just absolutely shocking what used to go on. And just horrible. I saw her the day before she died too, and she was sort of beat up. She'd had the flu, and she didn't look well, and she just couldn't get rid of him.
And your kids grew up as friends with OJ's kids?
Yeah.
Are they still friends?
And then they didn't. He didn't. She wasn't killed next door to me. She moved, and then, but she used to come over to the house, and she one time said to me, "Dad, you got a lot of good-looking friends, these guys. Maybe I ought to go out with one of them." And I kind of looked at her and smiled. I said, "I don't think so." It's like she was a great celebrity. She was a wonderful person, a great mother. It was like an unbelievable package. Very fun.
How'd you get along with OJ?
Yeah, everybody got along with OJ. He was really, smooth operator, the ultimate smooth operator.
You hear all these stories about OJ being involved in coke dealing and stuff like that. Did that ever come up? Any indications of that?
No, I never got any sense of that. I mean, he was pretty successful with his football. He was an announcer, and he had a lot of sponsorships.
Hertz, yeah.
I can't imagine. I have nothing to say about drug dealing, but I never heard of any of that. I mean, he was doing pretty well. He had a great house. He had a broadcasting deal. I know that. So, then there was the LA Times used to publish around Thanksgiving. They would publish a picture of him in a black tie carving a turkey with a huge knife, and then right after the death of Nicole, that commercial never ran again.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's talk about they're like those AIDS-reducing pills that they used to have, those diet pills back in the 70s. Well, tell us about the OSS Society and these films you're doing for them.
Yeah, I've been really having a fascinating time. I have a great friend, Charles Pink, who's opening a new museum in a couple of years out near Dulles Airport in Washington, in Northern Virginia, called the the National Museum of Intelligence and Special Operations, and it'll be full of exhibits and interactive displays. And so I've been going around interviewing people and making films about World War II, and so this film, Operation Overlord, has been getting a lot of play. It's about the OSS and the battle for France. A lot of period footage of the struggle before, during, and after D-Day, and it's really incredible. So having a great time, and I made a film about Jim Mattis, who was terrific, called Call Sign Chaos. You can look at that. You can look that up on the internet. It's almost got 100,000 views now, so it looks good.
Well, can you describe what's in that movie, the Jim Mattis movie?
It's Jim Mattis and David Petraeus talking about him. It's a couple of old Marines, and then it's basically like a little mini biography of him, of how gutsy he is, and it's got a lot of action scenes. It's pretty cool. And any Marine who's listening, I think, would really enjoy it.
Do they get into any of the stuff about him working for Trump?
No. Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, at the end, he sort of dismissed Trump, so, yeah.
He kind of dismisses Trump, you say?
Well, he was dismissive of Trump. Yeah,
oh.
I think they didn't get along ultimately.
Right. Well, back to the film, The Man Nobody Knew. Is there anything in that film that I have omitted to ask you about that you're really proud of?
I think maybe ultimately it's kind of it's a film about faith and about what you think of your father. I mean, how much do you love somebody, and can you love somebody that you have suspicions and doubts about? And it kind of shows how loyal someone can be, and maybe they're loyal mistakenly, but they're still loyal, and there's something kind of great to be said about that.
And do you believe that your parents, their Catholic faith, had a lot to do with that?
Oh, absolutely. The CIA used to be called CIA, Catholics in Action, because they have a moral purpose. They're like Knights Templar. They're like medieval knights. They're on a mission, and they're going to get the job done. Like the FBI is full of Catholics, still.
You said the FBI is totally Catholic?
A lot of Catholics, or used to be anyway. But it was CIA. I was, I guess, lucky enough to live in the period that I knew these guys when they were in their 30s and 40s, and in the 50s and 60s, they were happy. They were happy warriors. They were out to defeat communism, promote freedom, and all. And then things went sour with the Bay of Pigs. That's really what changed everything. And then it wasn't fun anymore with Vietnam and all that, all the nastiness and torture and all the nasty stuff that started happening.
Yeah, I was fascinated to learn that your dad wasn't aware of all the Cuban assassination attempts until he became CIA director.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been poring over all. I mean, he would have known about the major things, but like Castro in Cuba wasn't his beat, so he would have known something about it, but not much. But he did know about some of the technology and all, which is incredible, like the Glomar Explorer. That's something that some of your listeners should look up. About Howard Hughes was hired to build a mining vehicle, basically a ship to go to mine in the middle of the ocean. But the mine that they wanted to get to was actually a Russian submarine that had sunk in like more than 12,000 feet of water, and they pulled it up. They pulled up most of it, and then it fell apart. It supposedly fell apart.
What do you think?
It's an incredible story. I mean, the whole area of like near Las Vegas that you lived in, Nellis Air Force Base and Creech and all, it's just incredible. All the technology and all the. I mean, imagine what's going on. That's where drones were perfected, and imagine what is happening in the world of drones. They're big and they crash and they send out Hellfire missiles and a whole cafe blows up. Well, that creates a lot of collateral damage. Nowadays, why wouldn't there be a little toxin-borne drone, like the size of a mosquito, that takes out some mullah somewhere? And gee, wow, he has a bad case of flu. Oh, God, he died last night. Who knows how that happened?
And do you think that technology exists today?
Absolutely. I think that's the way things are moving, actually, because it's deniable. Look at the Russians with the misinformation and the campaign. They're masters at that. And also toxins, they actually use plutonium. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, who else owns those materials? Just that alone would point the finger at them. You can't go to the CVS drugstore and buy plutonium. So.
Now, you've been a witness to history, okay, sitting around the kitchen table, peeking in your dad's briefcase. Well, what do you think about our country today, where we're headed?
Well, I'm a little sad because I feel that America is really two things. It's very loyal and very strong and very devoted, and like half the Americans people are like that. And the best thing I can say about the other half of people is that they want reform. They want righteousness. They want us to be right. They want us to be morally correct and to have a sense of justice. And it's very hard to do both. We used to do it in World War II. We did it, and the interviews I've been doing with some of the pilots and some of the old OSS agents are just incredible. You know how brave they were. I mean, these bomber pilots, 22 years old was the average age of a B-24 bomber. 22 years old. 22! And they're flying these suicide missions, basically. It's incredible. So I feel empathy for anybody who wants to reform society, and I think my father would kind of express the same sentiment. At the same time, be loyal, be right. You know, try to defend the institutions we have, and don't tear everything apart on the road to justice.
So if your dad was alive today, would he say, we'll support your president no matter what, or would he say, this man has to go?
No, I think he would be very much reform-oriented. That's air the dirty laundry, especially, yeah. That's what he was about. When it got tricky for him, he basically reverted back to what he was when he was a Columbia Law student. He was a Roosevelt guy, 100%. He wanted to. He worked for National Labor Relations Board. He was righteous. He wanted to do the right thing.
Well, Carl Colby, we're just about out of time. What would you like to leave us with?
Well, maybe go and have a look at The Man Nobody Knew, of course. But if you look at Operation Overlord, my father's in that film, and guys like him. And maybe it'd be interesting just to watch that film, especially that one about D-Day and the OSS, and see the women as well. There are many women involved, and the diversity of talents and races and all that were involved in World War II. We were all allies. We were all together, and that comes through in that movie. And it'd be nice to get a look at that and see it through to the end. It's only 15 minutes, so.
Well, The Man Nobody Knew. Yeah, The Man Nobody Knew, In Search of My Father, CIA Spymaster William Colby. That's available on Prime, Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it for free right now, and I would really recommend it. Where can we catch these other films? Call Sign Chaos and Operation Overlord.
At the OSS Society, OSSSociety.org.
And you can watch them for free there? You can download them for free?
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent.
Yep. They're on. They have their own. We have our own YouTube channel promoting them. So.
Well, Carl Colby, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. You know, you've really shared a lot. I really enjoyed your film. Anytime you got something you want to promote, give me a call. We'll put you right on the air.
Okay. And I'll go look into your briefcase. Don't leave me in the room alone.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Hey, take care. Thank you so much.
And now a word from our sponsors. OppermanReport.com. Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Do you like the work that you see us doing here at Opperman Report? You can support that work by becoming a member at OppermanReport.com. And as you have access to over 200 exclusive shows and interviews that you can't find on YouTube or Spreaker or iHeart or iTunes or KYAH. You can't find them anywhere else online, exclusive to our member sections, to our members. Also, too, there's images, videos, documents, court docs. And don't forget, you can hear your ad played here on the Opperman Report, reach hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis because the show is repeated every day all over the world. Contact me at operatreport@gmail.com and I'll give you a good deal on advertising rates.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. An AquaDam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an AquaDam can do the job. An AquaDam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An AquaDam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An AquaDam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give AquaDam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. PureSoapFlakes.com. 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525. 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. People ask me all the time, hey Ed, are you still a private investigator? I sure am. Go to emailrevealer.com. We handle adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, where you give us your spouse's email address. We trace it back to online dating websites, catch them cheating online. Email tracing, locate or identify somebody from as little as an anonymous email address. Someone owe you money? Back child support? We can find that deadbeat, locate his hidden assets, locate his hidden bank accounts, find his current place of employment, and even assist you in obtaining a judgment and recover that judgment for you. Emailrevealer.com. Digital forensics, computer forensics, cell phone forensics, recover deleted text messages, create a report that you can use in court. Emailrevealer.com at 800-572-9762.